Hey, it's your guy Tyrrell back with the interviews. In today's video, we're going to briefly analyze the main tactical themes in Bayern Munich's 3-1 German Super Cup win over Borussia Dortmund. So in today's video, first we're going to focus on Bayern and Dortmund's pressing, mainly Bayern's pressing and how they were able to force Dortmund into several mistakes. Then we'll shift into how Dortmund's direct play helped them bypass Bayern Munich's press. And lastly, we'll focus on the left-sided attacks that helped Bayern win the game. So when we break down the game and we do look at the board, we have Bayern Munich in a 4-2-3-1 and Dortmund in more of a 4-3-1-2. What we end up seeing from Dortmund when they look to press is that they do have the front two strikers closing down Upamecano and Sula, and then you would have Reus closing down the deepest lying midfielder, whether it be Kimmich or Goretzka. Now you end up having Schulz and Passlack dealing with Gnabry. Lewandowski is closed down by the two center backs, but there are times where Muller would push forward, and that's where you would see Witsel or Akanji pick up the spare Muller who is looking to get into the forward line. If Muller stuck around that midfield zone between the lines, Dahoud would step towards him, and that means that you need Bellingham and Reina to close down Stanisic or Davies when they look to push forward. Bellingham would shift across to Davies to close him down, and then if the ball was shifted out towards Stanisic, then Reina would shift over to close down the right back. Ultimately, what you end up seeing in that position is that if Reina closes down Stanisic and Reus is closing down Kimmich, then that would see Bellingham shift narrow to close down Goretzka and vice versa. Let's say Bellingham closes down Davies and Goretzka drops deeper, Reus would step towards him and Reina would shift across to Kimmich. Meanwhile, when we focus on Dortmund, their pressing was a bit simple because without the ball they would drop off into two banks of four and they would be more of a 4-4-2. But when they look to press from the front, it would be Lewandowski stepping forward to close down one of the center backs. Muller would be near Dahoud, but there were times where he would push forward to close down the spare center back as well. That would leave Coman and Gnabry to deal with Passlack and Schulz. And that's where you would see Reus dropping off deeper to look to get on the ball. Kimmich would step towards him. And then you'd have Goretzka step to the closest midfielder that's free on the side that Dortmund are trying to play out of. There were times we ended up seeing Lewandowski closing down the center backs and Muller would hold his position against Dahoud, and that's where you would see, for instance, Coleman stepping towards Akanji, and then you would have Stanisic pushing high to close down Schulz and vice versa. If Lewandowski was closing down Akanji, you'd end up seeing Gnabry closing down Witsel, and Alphonso Davies would step forward to deal with Passlack. That allows Muller to stick with Dahoud, and then you could see Goretzka and Kimmich looking to step forward to close down one of Reina, Bellingham, or Reus, and then get help from the fullback. So for example, let's say Bellingham dropped deeper, Goretzka could pick him up, you could have Kimmich sticking with Reus, and then if Reina dropped narrow, Stanisic would follow him. This press caused Dortmund several issues, and ultimately they should have fell behind in that opening half due to their mistakes. From a simple Passlack throw in towards Dahoud checking into the ball, you could see Gnabry applying tight pressure towards him immediately, and it forces Dahoud to shift central with the possession. From here, he has Muller and Goretzka blocking off the passing lane into Reina and Akanji, and the only possible pass that Dahoud can make if he doesn't play it backwards is to slide the ball into Schulz, who would be looking to run off Coman. However, when he looks to play that pass, Thomas Muller steps into it immediately. Now the big problem is the run of Coman breaking in behind Schulz. As Muller looks to carry the ball towards Akanji, he locates the run of Coman towards his right, and he looks to play the ball into him. But what you end up seeing next is while that pass is manageable, Schulz ends up nodding it into the path of right half space, and from here you're expecting Akanji or the keeper to shift across to clear those lines. However, neither of them do step, and it allows Coman to break free towards right half space. He picks up the ball, and from this position, he can either play the ball into Gnabry looking to make the run off Witsel, hope that Lewandowski breaks towards the back post, but he ends up firing a low effort that flies inches wide of the net. Here you can see Akanji on the ball ahead of Lewandowski and Muller, and he's looking to slide the ball towards Passlack advanced in that right back position, but focus on Coman. When Akanji plays that pass to his right back, the first touch is poor, and it allows Coman to step in to apply pressure, and from this position he ends up winning the ball off Passlack. And what you end up seeing next is that Coman carries the ball towards the Dortmund backline, and it's essentially a 4v2 break. Coleman locates Gnabry calling for the ball, and from here it's Muller's movement who can take Akanji out of the game, and that's where you see Gnabry making a run off Dahoud into the right half space. Coleman slides the ball across Muller and it falls into the path of Gnabry, and while it pulls out Dahoud, Gnabry instantly plays the ball back into the path of Muller, breaking free into the box, but that allows Akanji time to shift across, and from this position he makes a last-ditch tackle that blocks the Muller attack. Then you can see Bayern's press with Akanji receiving the ball in his own box. You have Musiala near Reus, Tolisso prepared to step to Dahoud, and Sane prepared to shift across to Schulz. When Akanji carries the ball forward, that allows Tolisso to step towards him as Lewandowski doesn't shift across, and from here you're expecting Akanji to get the ball out of his feet to one of his teammates. But he dallies on it, and when he looks to play the pass in towards a Dortmund player checking in, it's Tolisso who steps in to win the ball, and that deflection ends up falling into the path of Lewandowski that sets him free on goal in this position, and when he takes that first touch he makes no mistake and he doubles Bayern's lead to kill off the game. When you question how they were able to bypass that press to create chances, it stemmed with Akanji stepping forward, and whether it be playing balls over the top, looking to play diagonal switches of play, or simply bypassing the midfield with low-driven balls, he was the initiator for Dortmund's best attacks if they couldn't find Marco Reus in between the lines on the rare occasion. Here we see Akanji on the ball with Muller looking to apply pressure, you have Kimmich following Reus, and Coleman blocking off the passing lane into Dahoud. When Akanji bypasses Muller and that press, he plays the ball into the path of Haaland, who does drag out Upamecano, and that's where you can see the forward run off Goretzka for Haaland to link play. When the Dortmund striker plays the ball forward to Reina, that's when you can see him looking to make the run off Upamecano, and that's going to force Sula to shift across to provide cover in the left channel. When Reina pokes the ball over Upamecano, this places Dortmund in an ideal goal-scoring position, as all the striker has to do is slide the ball first time across Sula for Moukoko. But when he does do that, focus on Alphonso Davies' position. Moukoko doesn't attack the pass that is played towards him, and it allows Davies the recovery time to speed in behind, and he's able to nip in to halt the Dortmund attack. Then you can see Akanji on the ball being closed down by Muller, Gnabry stepping towards Witsel, Kimmich prepared to step towards Dahoud, and Lewandowski in the left channel. Akanji ends up bypassing that pressure and he finds Bellingham in a pocket of space, and once again Alphonso Davies isn't tight on him and it gives Bellingham time to scan his options. Once Bellingham looks to push forward, Davies still doesn't get tight, and that's where Bellingham locates Haaland's run in between the center backs, and he looks to scoop the ball across Davies and Sula to place Haaland in the right channel. When the pass is played, now you have a 1v1 between Upamecano and Haaland, and you can see Malen calling for the ball as he's looking to break towards the back post. But what the Dortmund striker does well here is that he drags the ball across Upamecano towards the byline in right half space, and from there he has two runs that Malen can make, and you end up seeing Reus making an unmarked run in towards the penalty area, but Haaland's pullback bypasses Malen's run towards the front post, and it halts the Dortmund attack. In the build-up to Dortmund's goal, you have Akanji stepping into Bayern's half as they drop off into two banks of four, but focus on Passlack beginning to run off Gnabry as Bellingham is occupying Davies. When Akanji does look to play that pass, that's when you do see Passlack already running off Gnabry and looking to break in behind Davies into right half space, but also focus on Marco Reus' movement. As that diagonal ball is played, Passlack is able to win it, and you can see Davies isn't tight towards him, and that's where you see Haaland making a run into the box, but Passlack is looking to nod it back into the path of the unmarked Bellingham. When Bellingham receives the ball, you could see Sula and Goretzka looking to close him down in left half space, and they do have cover from Davies, but focus on Reus's movement towards the edge of the box, and as Bellingham takes control of the ball, his only option here is to lay the ball off to an unmarked Reus, and from that position he fires a first-time effort around Neuer. When Dortmund weren't pressing higher up the pitch, they would drop off into two banks of four as well, with Reus dropping just ahead of that midfield three, and that's when you'd end up seeing Bayern shift to more of a 3-2-5, with Davies being asked to push forward higher up the pitch. you'd have Coleman and Gnabry occupying the center backs. At times, they would look to tuck in central in between the lines, and you'd see Muller adopt that right touch line. But for the most part, it was Gnabry looking to tuck in towards that pocket of space ahead of Witsel and Passlack, and Coleman was occupying the right touch line to provide the width. Meanwhile, when you focus on how Bayern were able to win the game, along with their ability to convert a chance from a Dortmund mistake due to Bayern's pressing, when you look at a midfield diamond, there's often space out in the wider areas for the fullbacks to push forward, and it was clear that Bayern wanted to get Alphonso Davies down that left channel, but Bellingham did a very good job of shifting across to close him down on a consistent basis. However, when you focus on 2 out of the 3 goals that Bayern scored on the night, it involved Davies pushing forward down that left channel, bypassing pressure from the Dortmund players, and that helped Bayern get into the final third to create those goals. In the build-up to Bayern's first goal, you could see Bellingham and Reus shifting across to Davies, and Goretzka checking into the ball to pull out Dahoud. But focus on Lewandowski's positioning here. That's where you end up seeing Davies being able to poke the ball between all 3 Dortmund players, and it falls into the path of Goretzka, who has Lewandowski just ahead of the center back, and you have a passing lane for Gnabry, who's making a run off Passlack. From there, you do see Goretzka splitting Passlack and Witsel to place Gnabry in a position where he can carry the ball into left half space, but because there are no Bayern players in the box, he looks to cut back, and as he does gain that yard on Passlack, focus on Muller and Lewandowski. Lewandowski's unmarked at the edge of the box, and that results in Muller beginning to make a run across the center backs, and if he does that, he's taking both out of the game. You have Coleman occupying Schultz, and that results in Lewandowski making an unmarked run into the box, and Gnabry is able to locate that run, and he clips the ball towards the edge of the 6-yard box, and it allows Lewandowski to run on towards it and power a first-time header beyond the keeper. In the build-up to Bayern's second goal, it's Davies receiving the ball on the left touchline to pull out Passlack, but focus on the lateral movement of Gnabry. What you see next is that Davies squares the ball towards Gnabry and he looks to make the run off Passlack, and because Witsel doesn't step tight, that allows Gnabry a passing lane to split the 2 Dortmund players to play in Davies free down the left channel. When Davies does receive the ball, he has the option of Lewandowski making a run off Akanji and Sané making an unmarked run towards the back post. Davies, however, carries the ball into left half space, and from there he could still wrap the ball around Akanji for Lewandowski and Sané as they're both unmarked, but focus on Muller's movement towards the box. Akanji ends up getting a foot on the delivery, and from here expecting Lewandowski to direct the ball into the net, but focus on Muller's run again as he makes it off 3 Dortmund players and it's untracked. And from there, Lewandowski doesn't even attack the ball and it ends up deflecting off the keeper and falling into the path of Muller because those 3 Dortmund players didn't track his movement. So as you could see in what proved to be a sloppy game from both sides, specifically in terms of passing, Dortmund ultimately succumbed to Bayern's pressing and minimal left flank combinations.